Find the 5-number summary for the data distribution. The 5 numbers that make up the 5-number summary are the minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. Remember, the minimum and maximum are the lowest number and the highest number in the list. The median is found in the middle of the data set, and Q1 and Q3 are in the middle of what remains after we split it down the median. Find the 5 numbers that make up the 5-number summary. This is a digital lesson, so if you have access to it on your device, go ahead and pull it up now. Otherwise, follow along and take notes in your workbook. What do you think is the typical number of flags that students in our class can identify? We'll start by collecting data. So you're going to sort these based on which state they belong to. And this is just how many do you think that you can correctly identify. It's okay if you make a mistake. We're just collecting data for now. On the next slide, there are more flags for you to sort. Some of them have phrases in them that might help you. You can see that this one has a Minnesota. And there might be some other key things in there that would help you identify which flags belong where. Continue sorting on the remaining slides. And you're just going to continue sorting until you get to slide 13. This dot represents my score for how many I sorted correctly, but you should have multiple point values for the remaining students in your class. That's going to help you build the 5-number summary from the data that you collect from everyone. For the sake of this video, we're just going to assign these values, but you are actually going to use the data from your peers. That shows up on the dot plot. Now we're going to drag the line to the minimum. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8. The first quartile should be at 14. The median at 18. The third quartile at 24. And the maximum here at 46, which was my score. Again, these aren't going to match because it's not based on the rest of my classmates. However, it will show you check marks if you get it correct when you have other people's data. Your score is 46. Drag the dot for your score to the correct section of the box plot. Do you think you scored better than 0, 25%, 50%, or 75% of your classmates? Explain. Since mine is at the maximum, I have scored better than at least 75% of my classmates. Here are the quiz results from another class. Which of the 4 sections of the box plot, if any, has the most data values? Well, each section has the same amount of each. Amount of data values, or the same amount of data points. Because they are broken up into quartiles. Each section has 1/4 of the data, which means none of them have more than another. They all have 1/4. They all have the same amount. Use the slider to place the dot plot on top of the box plot. Why do you think the right whisker is longer than the left whisker? Well, the difference between the upper quartile and the maximum is larger than the difference between the minimum and that lower quartile. About what percent of the data values lie between the third quartile and the maximum value? Remember, each section is a quarter, and a quarter represents 25%. Explain what this indicates in terms of the state flag quiz. This means that the top 25% of students got between 30 and 48 flags correct. What do you think would happen if the point 48 moved to 43? The whisker would get shorter, the maximum would change, there was an animation there. Let's watch it. So that whisker gets shorter and closer to Q3. Move the data values in the dot plot. Watch how the histogram and box plot change. So if I move these points, you can see that Q3 can change. Q2 might change. If I move this smallest point down, the minimum would change. If I move this up, the maximum would change. By moving a data value, the size of the box or the whiskers can change. And then in the histogram, the frequency changes. Those bars get taller or shorter depending on where those points are. The box plots summarize data distributions for two other classes that took the quiz. What do you notice about the 5-number summary for each? Well, the minimums line up. Q1 lines up. The median also lines up. And the maximum lines up, but the third quartile does not. So the minimum, Q1, median, and maximum are all the same, but the Q3, or the third quartile, is different for the classes. Fill in the length of the right whisker for each class. It appears that the maximum is lined up around 45. But Q3 is 40 in class 1 and 30 in class 2. So this distance from 40 to 45 is a distance of 5. From 30 to 45, that's a distance of 15. What do the lengths of the right whiskers tell you about the scores in the classes? The top 25% of scores in class 1 have a range of 5, but the top 25% of scores in class 2 have a range of 15. Which class do you think scored better overall? Use information from the box plot to defend your answer. Well, in this class, 25% of the students scored between 40 and 45, and the rest of the data values were all lined up together. However, in class 2, the top 25% earned between 30 and 45. So class 1 scored better overall. Because the top 25% started out higher. A third class completed the quiz. The minimum score was 8. The maximum score was 49. And the interquartile range is 10. So from the Q3 to the Q1, there's a difference of 10. You can scoot it around, but it has to remain a distance of 10. So from 25 to 35, that's a distance of 10. Or from 12 to 22 is a distance of 10. It doesn't matter where you place this box as long as the Q1 and Q3 have a distance between them of 10. It tells us the interquartile range was 10. A fourth class completed the quiz. Their minimum was 7. Their maximum is 48. And the median is at 20. So we got to scoot that middle line to 20. And the interquartile range is 15. So if we put this one at 10, 10 plus 15 is 25. If we put this one at 11, 11 plus 15 would mean this one has to be at 26. You can slide the quartiles accordingly to make the interquartile range be 15. And that is the end of lesson 15. Check back for more videos in the Module 6 playlist.